Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today. The focus of this webinar will be to introduce you to Trillium Demonstration School, our purpose and programming. We will also provide details regarding our application process. Just a couple of housekeeping items before we get started. You can see us, but we can't see you. I'll turn my camera feed on in a minute. If you have any questions during this presentation, please type them in the chat and we will pause for questions at the end of the presentation. This presentation is also being recorded and will be emailed to you later on this week. So hello everybody, my name is Wendy Farkas. I am one of 3 resource services teachers at Trillium Demonstration School. I'm an Ontario certified teacher and I'm seconded to the Provincial Schools branch from the Waterloo Region District School Board. So hello to those of us joining today from the Waterloo Region. My role is to support educators and school boards across Ontario who are seeking to support their students with severe learning disabilities and ADHD. My portfolio includes support to the following school boards: Algoma, Huron-Superior Catholic, Dufferin-Peel Catholic, Peel, Simcoe County, York, and York Catholic. Joining me today are my colleagues in Resource Services, Fleur Lay and Shannon Scullion. Fleur and Shannon, would you like to say hello?
Hi there, everybody. Welcome. I'm not sure if Fleur has joined us yet, Wendy.
Okay, Fleur may join us a little bit later on. For the remainder of the presentation, I'm actually going to just turn off my camera feed. Just makes it a little bit easier for me to navigate through Zoom and all of the technology. So let's start with talking about what a demonstration school is. An excerpt from PPM 89 regarding demonstration schools and the application process states that although it is the responsibility of school boards to provide appropriate educational programs for pupils with learning disabilities, the demonstration schools were established to meet the needs of pupils with severe learning disabilities who require a residential setting, and to make available resource services for the learning disabled, including on-site professional development programs for qualified teachers. Our program's objectives, the objectives of a demonstration school are as follows. 1, to provide residential education programs for pupils with severe learning disabilities. 2, to assist enrolled pupils to develop personal life and learning strategies, which will enable them to return to programs within their local school boards, other educational jurisdictions, or their community. 3, to provide in-service teacher education, such as this webinar today. 4, to provide resource services for school boards as required, including pupil assessment and/or programming assistance. The Ministry of Education provides the services of 3 demonstration schools in Ontario for English-speaking pupils with severe learning disabilities. These are the Amethyst School in London, the Saganaska School in Belleville, and the Trillium School in Milton. Centre Jules Leger in Ottawa provides services in Ontario for French-speaking pupils with severe learning disabilities. Its catchment area is the entire province. The Ministry of Education also provides services for other exceptional students in Ontario. Schools for the deaf are the Robarts School in London, Sir James Whitney in Belleville, Ernest C. Drury in Milton, and W. Ross Macdonald School for the Blind in Brantford. Here, you will see the catchment area for our schools. The catchment area of Trillium School includes the Mid-Northern Ontario region, Dufferin, Halton, Hamilton-Wentworth, Niagara, Peel, Simcoe, Wellington, and York counties, and all of the Ontario Central region and Metropolitan Toronto. We also do service various northern boards. The Provincial Committee on Learning Disabilities may determine that in certain cases, a demonstration school may also admit a student from outside its catchment area. So here's a map from a few years ago that gives you a sense of where all of the Trillium students come from. As you can see, right here, most students are from the mid-northern Ontario region. However, some travel to us from Sudbury, Thunder Bay, and Iron Bridge in the Algoma region. Trillium Demonstration School is a one-year program. We work with students from grades 5 to 12. Our students benefit from small class sizes and lots of one-on-one teacher support. In a typical year, we receive 40 students, which sets class sizes anywhere between 6 and 8 students per one classroom teacher. This year, our staffing increased to accommodate COVID-related concerns. We have 10 highly qualified and experienced special education teachers and 3 resource services teachers. Our teachers are seconded from various school boards across Ontario. Our assistive technology advisor ensures student skill development in the use of their assistive technology and accessibility to text as we remediate their language deficits. We also have a full-time educational assistant, a resident speech and language pathologist, a social worker, psychiatrist, psychologist, and 2 full-time nurses on site. Our program aims to serve the whole child and offer intense academic support, specifically reading and language skill development, as well as social emotional growth and development, pathway planning, self-awareness, and self-advocacy skill development. We facilitate 2 student-led conferences per year where school support teams, the student and their family, meet with the student and the student gets to articulate their personal goals and share their achievements. Guided transition support is also offered to prepare students to reintegrate back into their home school boards. Resource services will maintain relationships with students and their school teams once they leave Trillium. Our morning and our afternoon programs operate a little bit differently. So at this time, I'm going to take an opportunity to go in depth into our morning program. Our students are referred to us to remediate severe language deficits. Through our morning program, students are ability grouped and they attend a daily structured language program. At Trillium, we administer the Empower Reading, Decoding, and Comprehension programs during the school day. For over 30 years, the Learning Disabilities Research Program at Sick Kids in Toronto has worked to better understand the core learning problems of children and adolescents with severe reading disabilities. The Empower Reading Decoding program is an accredited, evidence-based program designed to remediate language gaps for students with severe learning disabilities and ADHD. Empower teachers provide direct, explicit instruction to identify gaps and improve reading, decoding, fluency, comprehension, and vocabulary based on individual student needs. Taking a look specifically at the Empower program, if you look at the image on the right of the slide, the Empower program is comprised of 5 main strategies. The Sounding Out strategy facilitates direct instruction of the teaching of sounds, phonics, and phonemic awareness. The Rhyming strategy teaches students to recognize rhyming words and patterns to further remediate their decoding skills. The Peeling Off strategy is designed to teach struggling readers to recognize important word parts and chunk multi-syllabic words. The Vowel Alert strategy teaches struggling readers to be flexible when reading and remember that vowels and vowel combinations can make multiple sounds. The SPY strategy teaches students to identify compound words. As well as the decoding program, we also offer the Empower Comprehension program. Once students become better readers, we build students' essential comprehension skills. Students are guided in their journey to become active readers by building their vocabulary, learning to use the Empower 5 PACES comprehension strategies, further developing fluency and automaticity skills, and also being encouraged to read for pleasure based on their own needs and interests. Many Trillium students begin to change their mindset and attitudes towards reading and text as they make great gains and begin to see themselves as competent readers. At Trillium, we encourage students to develop a growth mindset, set goals, and take safe risks. Many of our students have experienced difficulty with math in the past, as math encompasses a lot of language. Students at Trillium are ability grouped for math classes so that teachers can identify gaps and provide individualized programming based on student need. Math instruction and assessment at Trillium is innovative and differentiated to suit learner needs. For example, if given a math worksheet to read and complete, students with reading deficits may not be able to read, then follow instructions and complete the worksheet. Students at Trillium demonstrate math skill and knowledge through engaging hands-on and cross-curricular projects and have access to various concrete materials and manipulatives. Our students also use technology to demonstrate their skill on various platforms. We use Equatio, Knowledge Hook, and Gizmos, just to name a few. I just wanted to remind you that at any point during the presentation, if you have any questions, please do feel free to just add them to the chat. We will be pausing for questions later on in this presentation. If you click on the bottom of your screen, you'll see a little chat icon pop up. Either the chat room or the Q&A room is fine, and Shannon and Fleur are going to help to monitor that so that we make sure we answer everyone's questions. In the next segment of our webinar, we're going to talk about our afternoon program at Trillium. In the afternoon, our elementary students focus on content subjects, including science, social studies, health, and the arts. Our high school students focus on credit-bearing courses based on their high school graduation plan and requirements. The majority of our high school students are working at the applied and academic level. However, we do provide locally developed courses based on need. Students with severe learning disabilities require flexibility in the classroom. Teachers engage their students through various means, including gamification, lots of project-based activities, and we have our outdoor classroom. We guide our students through the inquiry process and ask them to think globally while they develop critical 21st century skills and understand the world around them. Students with severe learning disabilities require the use of assistive technology in order to access the curriculum. At Trillium, we use the G Suite for Education platform. Students learn and demonstrate proficiency in the use of various Google and web-based tools, including Google Read and Write, G Suite's speech-to-text, text-to-speech tool. We recognize that some boards may be using other platforms such as Office 365. So our assistive technology advisor works directly with students to ensure that they're ready and complete their technology passport before transitioning back to their home board. This technology passport ensures that students have the knowledge, flexibility, and troubleshooting skills to adapt to new or unknown situations. In a typical school year, students that attended a demonstration school were also required to participate in our residential program. Students lived on campus from Monday to Thursday, going home to their families on weekends, holidays, and PD days. This year, in order to follow safety and social distancing standards, Students that live locally are day students only. They arrive every morning via school bus and participate in an extended after-hours program facilitated by our resident staff before being bused home. Students that live further away participate in a hybrid learning model where they attend school daily while living in residence and attend distance learning at home on alternate weeks. Our flyers from northern and more remote parts of Ontario arrive at residence on Sunday evening. Other resident students arrive by school bus on Monday morning and bus home on Friday afternoon. Our afternoon residence program offers social skills programming and opportunity for growth while students live with others who share their history. Students are assigned a primary counselor who provides one-on-one support with homework completion and read aloud time every day. Our residence and extended day programs also encourage the development of students' social self-regulation and advocacy skills. So new this year to Trillium and our after-school program is Lexia's blended online learning platform. Lexia is used as an extension to our day program, which aims to further remediate language and reading deficits while at home or residence. Students work independently during homework time based on teacher-guided expectations and individualized learning paths. Students can work at their own pace to further strengthen the 6 areas of reading, including phonological awareness, phonics, structural analysis, automaticity and fluency, vocabulary, and comprehension. So now that you've heard all about our program and what we do, we wanted to take the opportunity to show you some student growth and how our programming can affect students' lives and academic achievement. So let's take a look at this first chart. Before a student arrives at Trillium, we conduct an educational assessment to measure their ability in reading, spelling, writing, math, and oral comprehension. This graph represents a former grade 9 student. So this first battery of tests, this first grouping here, represents reading ability. The second grouping here represents spelling and writing. The third grouping represents math fluency and applied problem solving, so word problems. And this last grouping here represents understanding directions and oral comprehension. The first bar, the blue bar, in each grouping represents the pretest. So this was the test that was administered before the student attended Trillium. A resource services consultant, in the past, we have visited the school to interview the student on their home turf, interview the family and the teacher or the CERT, as well as conduct an educational assessment, which typically takes approximately 3 hours. And these are the results of this assessment. The red bar represents our exit testing. So after a student has completed a full year at Trillium, we test them again using the same battery of testing. We use the Woodcock-Johnson IV so that we can demonstrate and measure growth. On the left column of the chart, this is where you'll see grade levels. So we're talking about grade level equivalencies on the testing. So when we first met this student, they were leaving grade 8, getting ready to join us in grade 9, and we assessed them on their sound awareness, letter word ID, so just the ability to read and decode words and sounds. They were performing at, I'd say, approximately a grade 3 level. After completing 1 year at Trillium, you can see the huge gains that this student made. And that's definitely credited to the Empower Reading and Decoding program. So this student was then reading beyond their grade level at a grade 12 level. When we first met this student, their spelling and writing ability was also, I'd say, around a grade 3 level. And after just remediating the decoding piece and giving the student the skills that they need to be able to read effectively, you can see that their spelling and their writing also greatly improved. So averaging out at about maybe a grade 6 level. So for math calculation, the students' scores stayed the same, and that's because this test it's basically a list of questions and it's timed, and the student answers as many as they can. So these are not word-based problems. But what I want to draw your attention to are the applied math problems and the math fluency tests. Because here, what has happened is, because we were able to remediate that reading piece and improve their reading and decoding ability, the student was actually able to read and understand word problems and answer them correctly. So when we first assessed them, they were performing at approximately a grade 3 level, and after their reading improved, jumped up an entire grade level. And then we have our oral comprehension and our understanding directions category. So this particular student had great oral comprehension skills, as you can see, and their ability to understand directions improved. And that's because after learning how to read and all of the strategies that we taught them throughout the year through our learning strategies program, the student was able to read, organize, kind of hold all of that information and follow sets of directions more efficiently. This next slide is the profile of a grade 8 student. And you'll see in the rest of the slides that I show you that some students have more gains than others, absolutely. It depends on the student. But what you will see is that all students do make gains. So this student, when they joined us, they were reading, just decoding at about a grade 2 level. And when they left Trillium, they had increased by at least a whole grade or a grade and a half. So somewhere between a grade 3 and a grade 4 level. You can see the student's spelling ability was at a grade 1 level. When they left, they had jumped up to almost a grade 3 level. And this, again, this is the really powerful piece. We can see that once we remediate the language piece, the reading and decoding piece, how much better the student performs with applied math problems. Here we have a grade 11 student. So again, this student has made great gains. When we first met this student, they were reading and decoding at, it looks like, based on the chart, approximately a grade 7 level. And you can see that after they left Trillium, the amazing gains they made, they were reading all the way up at a grade 12 level. Again, great gains in spelling, spelling of sounds and writing, math, and oral comprehension. So at Trillium, we use the Developmental Reading Assessment, or DRA, to monitor student reading levels and also track growth. So I'll explain this bar chart. Along the left-hand column, we have our grade equivalencies, grade 1, grade 3, grade 5, etc. And along the bottom, the blue bars represent the students' reading ability in September when they first arrive at Trillium. The red bar represents the students' reading ability in January, so a mid-year check-in point. and the gold bar represents the student's reading ability at the end of the year. So for exit testing purposes, their final DRA. So we take a look at this student here. In September, they were reading just above a grade 3 level. And you can see at the midpoint, they had already gained 2 full reading levels. And that's really common. We'll see that very quickly within the first month or 2 of doing the Empower Decoding program. Because they're doing this on a daily, regular basis. So they're getting Empower every single day for a full hour. And they're also getting that other additional support through Lexia. And we're all trained in Empower. So we're constantly remediating and having them use the tools and the skills that they're learning throughout the day. You'll see huge gains between September and the mid-year check-in. And then at the end of the year, the student was reading at a grade 7 level. This student, when we first met them, they were also reading at a grade 3 level. And by the midpoint, they were reading a little bit higher, maybe a grade 4 level. So you can see this student didn't make huge gains right away. It just took them a little bit longer. But by the end of the year, the student had met their goals and were reading at approximately a grade 8 level. Again, some students make sort of longer stride or bigger gains than others. It just depends on the student. So I'm going to draw your attention to this last example here on the end. When the student initially arrived in September at Trillium, they were reading at approximately a grade 2 level. And they did improve a little bit by mid-year. But by the end of the year, they had been reading at a grade 4 reading level. So imagine that, coming to the school, reading just about a grade 2 level, and jumping 2 entire grade levels by the time they leave our program at the end of the year. Amazing gains for all of these students. Here are a few testimonials. We have a few former students that have given us permission to share these with you today. Mindy, a student in grade 10, says, "Now that I've been to Trillium, I think that I'm ready for high school." Josh in grade 9 says, "School is less stressful at Trillium. I have new strategies and ways to help me learn." Nick in grade 9 says, "Now that I'm better at reading, I'm less self-conscious about reading in front of people." And Owen in grade 8 says, "I'm not as embarrassed about my learning disability at Trillium." And that's very true. Often our students with severe LDs or even ADHD will begin to compare themselves to their peers at a very early age. They'll notice differences and they'll withdraw in the regular classroom environment. And although they're very bright and very capable, they may be afraid because they're afraid to take safe risks. They don't want their teacher or their classmates to know that they can't read. And when they come to Trillium, and this is kind of the beauty of the residential program and the environment, they're surrounded by people that are just like them and have experienced similar histories. So it does take a little bit of time, but they all eventually begin to feel safe and develop their confidence and start to take those safe risks. Because as we know, when we teach our students about growth mindset, that sometimes you need to make mistakes to learn from them and grow. And that's definitely something that we get to see here happening with our students at Trillium. So you might be thinking, okay, how do I start an application? Do I have a student maybe that meets who needs this program? So we wanted to just give you sort of a snapshot or an idea of what a typical student at Trillium would look like. We don't have to follow this to the letter because our PCLD is certainly flexible and they review each application that comes through. But for the most part, these are the criteria that we're looking for. So if you look at the left-hand side of the slide, Students that come to Trillium Demonstration School must have a clinical LD diagnosis. So if you have a student in mind, or you're thinking of a student, but they haven't had a formal psych ed assessment and they haven't been identified, that's something that you would need to start working on right away. The student may also have a marked weakness in phonological awareness. So perhaps the student is in grade 8, but they're having trouble reading text, and you think based on your informal assessments that they're reading maybe at a grade 3 level, grade 2 level, grade 4 level. Perhaps the student has low academic achievement based on grade equivalence, despite multiple attempts at remediation. Students with severe learning disabilities, you'll also notice that they may struggle with spelling. They may spell things phonetically, and they'll be writing below grade level expectations. So they may not really understand how to form a complete sentence. Their spelling is incorrect. The grammar is incorrect. They may write in full run-on sentences or just fragment sentences, or just have trouble organizing and putting together written work. Most of our students are between the ages of 11 and 15. Although we do have a few senior high school students this year. So again, if you have a student in mind and you're worried that they don't quite meet this profile, please do reach out to us, and I'll show you how to do that shortly. The student may have difficulty in the use of language for learning. So they may have difficulty thinking, remembering, conversing, listening, difficulty with executive functioning skills, keeping themselves organized, managing their time, taking a big assignment and understanding how to break that down into chunks, managing their time, meeting deadlines. And the student would have at least average learning skills of any information that's presented orally or visually. So if you notice the student performs really, really well when you assess them orally or visually, but you give them a written task and it's kind of all downhill from there, they could potentially be an applicant for Trillium Demonstration School, a candidate. So the application process, if you take a look at the right side of the screen, Trillium Demonstration School is a ministry-run school, and our partnership is primarily with the school and the school board of the applicant. So we do often have parents that call us to chat about our program and to find out about a program, and we're always happy to do that. But if you're looking to refer a student to us, our partnership is with you and with your school board. So oftentimes we'll get applications from school certs or VPs or principals, and even in some cases system level employees like a consultant or a special education coordinator will often work with us to complete an application. The program is free for attendees. It's publicly funded, so it doesn't cost the family anything either. And if you have an interested candidate or someone that you have in mind, please contact us directly for a consultation. We're not allowed to publicly post our application process, but we would definitely send that information directly to you when you reach out to us. There are 2 phases to our application as well, so a couple of really important due dates to note. If you're thinking of referring a candidate to us, the due date is, the first due date is November 15th, and I know that's right around the corner, but we are here, Shannon, Fleur, and I are here to help you. So if you have an applicant, again, get in touch with us and we will help you meet that November 15th deadline. And then the second part of the application is due February 1st of next year, of 2021. That brings us to the end of our presentation. If you do have an applicant in mind, or if you have any questions about supporting students with severe learning disabilities and ADHD, if you're in the midst of the IEP writing process and you're trying to make sure that that's all in place, maybe you're supporting a classroom teacher, they might be new to the classroom or looking for some strategies surrounding supporting students with ADHD, you can reach out to any of the three of us. Our email addresses are on the screen in front of you now. As well, we each have direct phone extensions. So I'll leave that up for a moment in case you'd like to write that down. This slide deck and the recording of today's webinar will be emailed directly to you as well. So if you don't want to take a note right now or write down our contact information, that is okay. It will be on its way to you. And also, please do spread the word and feel free to register for more of our webinars. You can register on our website, just like you did for this one. We'll send you the link, and our full lineup of webinars, we'll send that out to you as well. We know it's been a very challenging time of year. We know that a lot of you are just working to capacity and you don't have a lot of free time. So do tell your colleagues, sign up for as many webinars as you like. We're recording them. We are happy to send them out to you, even if you can't participate in our live webinars, and absolutely work with you and within the timeline and the parameters that you have. Does anybody have any questions? Shannon, are there any questions in the chat room?
No, there's been no questions.
Okay. Well, our webinar is scheduled to be over shortly. I'll just hang back online for a few minutes. In case anybody does have any questions, please do feel free to go on and type them in the chat room. If you don't want to ask us any questions here, you can also shoot us a quick email, either one of us. It doesn't matter because we work together anyways. And if I get a question from one of Shannon's boards, I'll refer it to her and vice versa.
Wendy, there is one question that just came up in the chat. So is this the same webinar being offered on Tuesday?
Yes. So let me check my schedule here. Absolutely. So because our application deadline is November 15th, and we know everybody out there in education is so busy right now, we wanted to offer this many times. So it's being offered a few more times this month. On Tuesday, Fleur Lay, who is one of our resource colleagues, will be running that one. You didn't get a chance to meet her today. So if you have a colleague who's interested in this presentation, feel free to ask them to sign up to that one, or you're welcome to share the recording from any of our webinars.
And there was one question in the Q&A, is whether or not the identification of the LD, so through formal IPRC, needs to be in place by that November 15th deadline. Good question.
So the November 15th deadline, so in order to initiate an application, we just need to know that the child has a clinical diagnosis of an LD. So make sure that that is well and underway, but the ultimate final deadline is February 1st. So by February 1st, you're going to want to have a completed or an updated psych ed assessment within 3 years of the application date, an updated speech and language assessment within 3 years of the application date. The child will need an updated vision and audiogram assessment within 2 years of the application date. And with regards to the IPRC, yes, so you may be working with a student who has been identified by your IPRC as having an LD and they've been placed somewhere in your board, but the IPRC has to be current and it has to state that the IPRC committee supports an application to a provincial demonstration school. And that has a lot to do as well with funding and just making sure that our system level operators know that the child is being referred to us.
And we do have another question in our Q&A. We have everything but, oh, I think she's just responding. So we have everything but the IPRC identification.
Sure, absolutely. And so yeah, the final deadline is February 1st. So I would say do what you can to get that process started. And then the other piece is, you know, we're experiencing a global pandemic right now. So what I have said to boards in the past is, if by the February, let's say by the February 1st deadline, the IPRC isn't done, but you know it's going to be done on May 15th, then what we would do is we would put a note in the application for our committee, indicating that that is to come. And then the minute you get it, you send it to us and we make sure it gets to the right people. As long as we know that all of these things are going to be in place, then we can absolutely work with you. Are there any other questions, Shannon?
No, there's nothing else in the Q&A or the chat. I think we're good.
Okay.
For everyone.
Great. Thanks again, everyone, for joining us today. We know how busy you are out there and how tough it is this year. So thank you so much. Again, the recording and the slide deck will be sent to you today, as well as our lineup of webinars. So sign up for as many as you like, and we'll send you those recordings. And please share all of the resources that we're developing and sharing with you during our webinars freely and widely. Okay? Thank you so much, everybody. Have a great day.